mind of mush, burying trauma. Alon is a horrible person. She's the most sane one.
Hello, all you film lovers, casual theater goers, at-home movie watchers, and streaming scrollers out there. You're listening to Film Curious, the podcast that invites you to let your intrigue guide you and explore great films across genres and time. At least that's what I'll be doing. I'm Ashley Bernhardt, and this episode I'm joined again by my good friend Pete Sedone to dive into a new theatrical release from A24, The Drama. And this is kind of part 2 of our conversation. It's not necessary before listening to this episode to listen to the previous one, but if you hear us mention Project Hail Mary in this episode, it's because we recorded one right after another. That's why 2 films on totally opposite ends of the spectrum come up in both episodes. The Drama is written and directed by Norwegian filmmaker Kristoffer Borgli. You may have caught one of his more recent previous works, Dream Scenario, a quirky, surreal story starring Nicolas Cage, and similarly, in his latest work, the concept itself may be less surreal, but the heightened emotions certainly drive the plot point and set the stage for a deeper cultural discussion. The film stars Zendaya and Robert Pattinson as a happily engaged couple who is put to the test when an unanticipated turn sends their wedding week off the rails. Before getting into our deep dive, I do want to acknowledge the inciting plot point does open the door for a heavy topic. We try to handle it mainly in the context of the story, but with this sort of topic, it's impossible not to talk about personal feelings the plot brings up and how it relates to the real world, which I would argue is one of the points of this film. All this to say, this is a spoiler discussion, as it wouldn't do the film or subject matter justice if we weren't to get into the details. So, join us as we indulge in the drama. So, the drama. The conversation that it leads to, that you can, we'll see how long we can talk about the drama, but I think it is something that we could go on for a while about. I think it does a good job of posing questions about humans and how good we really are, depending on, is it the actions we take? Is it the thoughts we have? How far, do you have to go before then you're not good? This is like a very hard movie to have a conversation about without getting into the spoiler of it.
Yeah, no, you have to. You have to just get that. Yeah. So
it's just a full spoiler warning on this one. And it comes up relatively early in the film, too. Like, you kind of...
So, it's the marketing has made this a spoiler. The film doesn't.
Right. It's the beginning of the film.
It's the inciting incident for the rest of the film. But yeah, and I think that's actually where I've heard a lot of people feel like, well, I was sort of, deceived into this corner and sucker punched. I get it. If you were going for the funny rom-com movie, you did not get that. Actually, I argue that you did. I think it is darkly comedic in a lot of scenes.
I'll be honest, I was laughing.
There was a
portion
bunch
of time
spots.
It was from like the absurdity of Pattinson's Charlie's visions of Zendaya or Emma, the character that she plays, of her imaginations of putting on this mass shooting.
Yeah, I guess let's set it up, right? Like, just in case someone is unaware, in the film we have, Charlie and Emma, who is, Pattinson and Zendaya, and they are getting ready for their wedding. And one of the, first like 15 minutes or so, I would say, they're doing a wine tasting, getting ready for the wedding with their maid of honor and best man. And they get into a thing of telling each other stories or a story of the worst thing they ever did, which I want to say, and I think this is very important. And these are the little details that, like, everyone is fixating on the bigger thing, which I get why. But it's the delivery system of it that I think a lot of people are missing or just overlooking because of the larger issue that comes up. Alana Haim's character of Rachel, that's the maid of honor. She outwardly, without any prompting, shares her husband's worst thing that he ever did that he told to her in secret like a year or years ago. And she just blurts it out, essentially.
Him up, blows up his spot.
Just like says it, like, or says enough that he then has to explain because she says,
because then you
the
imagine
thing with the
it's
dog.
Worse. Right.
Yeah, because you imagine it's much worse.
Yeah.
So that then kicks off everyone sharing their story. And just to recap what the stories were, Mike, the best friend of Pattinson's Charlie, he and his girlfriend, who he wasn't not getting along with at the time, were walking home. A stray dog came and sort of attacked them, and he used her as a human shield. Then his wife, the maid of honor, Rachel, Alana Haim, tells her story, and her story is that she took, in her words, a slow kid, and in the woods, put him in a closet, locked him, and left him there, running away because he started screaming. So she panicked and she ran away, and doesn't tell anybody, even when people ask her where this kid is, and they don't find him till like the next morning.
The next morning in this trailer, locked in a closet.
He
in
had
the
not
RV.
eaten all day.
Yeah.
I'm assuming he probably lost bodily function at some point.
Right.
And that was hers. Pattinson's was, I cyberbullied somebody and they moved, but in the way that he says it, it sounds like they just moved. And it was at the same time when this happened, and he was like, I actually don't know if it was because of me.
Because of me, but again, we have the details of his bullying are pretty vague. Like we don't.
They're very vague. We don't go into it at all. I find that
interesting. Yeah,
I'll say I think it's because he really didn't have anything to say. During the scene, you can see that Emma, Zendaya, is very hesitant for her turn at this round table. And her reveal is, I planned a school shooting. I didn't go through with it, but I had planned it. And then she is grilled by pretty much everyone at the table, specifically Alana Haim's Rachel. Well, like, what do you mean? Like, how, and she took it as far as had a gun, had a plan, and then didn't do it. And we find out why she didn't do it later. And everyone but Pattinson, he at first, like, he's shocked, but he isn't like, are you insane? Nothing like that. Whereas Rachel and Mike, Mike is sort of like, he's reacting to it heavily, but Alana Haim's character is really like perked up on this one.
Yeah. And
she shares that, she had a cousin who was paralyzed from a school shooting and everything. And then, and then that's where the film goes. Like, it's about these people, specifically Claire, Charlie and Emma, and trying to get married within, 6 days later, 5 days later. And how do you deal with learning that the person that you were about to marry when they were 15, was moments away, or, half a day away from committing this act, which is, again, the film is giving you other information that you're supposed to carry with it, because when Pattinson tells his cyberbullying story, it gets washed over by, well, when you're 14, your brain is mush. You don't have an adult brain till you're like 25. Mm-hmm. But at 15, everyone is expecting Emma's character to be cognizant and understanding of everything, and suddenly doesn't have a brain of mush, only 1 year older than Pattinson's character. And that's where the film goes. Essentially, everyone loses their fucking mind. Yes. Really, everyone within earshot of this loses their fucking mind, except Mike.
Anybody it touches.
Mike is the only one who I feel like he's like, you know what? It's fucked up.
The best man. Yeah.
But okay, I get it. It's fucked up. Maybe I wouldn't marry this person, but he doesn't seem like this is the worst human being I've ever met. Like, he's the only one who kind of seems to take it in and sort of understand it. And I think it has to do a lot with, he comes from a background that he probably way more understands than the two other white people who are in this conversation about, getting through high school and everything that can entail, and the bullying and the singling out and everything like that. What was your take on this?
I had a lot of empathy for Emma's character, right? Like, I'm not saying that it's a good thing that she plotted out that she had these thoughts, but I think having witnessed, I was never badly bullied in high school, but having witnessed some people that were badly bullied and trying to kind of like, hey, cut that out. That's not a cool thing to do to this person. I always had in the back of my mind of like, this is how school shooters are born kind of thing of like not being included, being relentlessly bullied and harassed every day. So yeah, like my point on this is like, yeah, she's been through a dark time. Maybe she had a really dark time. And honestly, then she turns to anti-gun activism. So like,
now,
it could be like, I feel so guilty, or I'm trying to show that I don't have these thoughts still or something, point two. But like,
I think that, but I also think that she found a way that she make friends.
Yeah.
Like,
well, I mean, that was
the opportunity. Yeah, the opportunity presents itself. So again, like you have to give like I guess like we have to give more context, right? So Pattinson questions like, well, what happened that you didn't? Like what what was it that made you decide not to? And she kind of didn't decide not to, even though she does ultimately, because she could have still made the choice and said, I'm going to follow this up. But essentially the night before she was going to do this shooting, and this is the dark comedy part, she's making the recording that she'll then put online, for people to see after she does this act. And the first time the camera stops midway because there's a mandatory update for the software for the camera, which is pretty fucking funny. And then she restarts it again, and her computer actually goes to a blue screen of death, Windows, which you can assume is because there was an update that was broken because the update that got pushed to a camera. So it's kind of funny when you see it happen. But then even more so the next day at school, there's another shooting, not at the school, but at the mall. And for whatever reason, during this school shooting or during this daytime shooting or whenever it may have happened, they lose one of their classmates. He gets killed. And through the trauma of that moment, the person who was her bully or one of her bullies really like breaks down and embraces her. And they share this moment and they come together. And she comes together with the classmates that never really, paid her any mind and or bullied her before. And they all become like a gun activist, anti-gun activist group. And she becomes the speaker because people actually do say like, you seem like you know what you're doing when you're talking. Which is funny because she barely talks. But
she had information on, female shooters do, have committed mass shootings. And I also thought that was funny of like, here's a way to put this in here. Cause there's a bunch of people probably like questioning viewers of the audience going, I don't know, wow, female shooter,
exactly.
So it kind of does cover that, if the audience is skeptical of this, it is kind of telling the audience.
Were you aware of the song I Don't Like Mondays? Have you ever heard that song? She refers to it. I'll tell you, I know that song. A girl I used to date way back when I was young, she loved that song. Like, I distinctly remember her buying that a cassette of that tape, like in a thrift store, and she played that song over and over again.
What are you trying to tell us?
I remember that. You know what? I'm not going to say that.
Sorry, that's a bad joke. That's a bad joke.
The thing is, I'll tell you right now, this person also, I guarantee you that they listened to that song and they interpreted something different. One of the best examples of this that I can give you is everyone knows the painting, the Scream, the hands to the face. There was once a joke in The Simpsons about that painting, and she got very upset. And I was like, what is the problem? I'm like, why are you so? It's like, that painting you shouldn't like make jokes about it. That painting is about a man's reaction to the Holocaust. And that painting was like from the 1800s.
I thought it was pretty old.
So I'm like, what? No, it literally, it cannot be about that because it was painted 50 fucking years before it happened. So for all I know, she thought that it was just a person who just really didn't like working on Mondays. I really don't know. Anyways, did you think that it was, I guess the big thing is it excusing that she considered this, or is it trying to, I think the movie is trying to let people understand how someone can get to that point. And actually, I thought the best parts of the film were that the younger actress, Yaya Gosselin. Oh, no, that's not her. Jordan Curret. Okay, they just have her listed as actress here, which is a weird thing to have.
Yeah, I think that's why I meant to write down her name because I did enjoy her performance, and but I don't know why they have her listed so far down. To be honest,
I thought that the stuff with her was my favorite part of the film because seeing her, work herself up into that level of almost, what I'm going. Yeah, this character that she's playing, and then having it come undone. I thought was fascinating to kind of watch, and I don't think it's excusing or anything like that. I think it's just trying to bring a little bit of understanding. Like I know Marilyn Manson is not like a great person or anything, but he did have an incredible reaction, quote once, because when Columbine happened, because those two kids listened to Marilyn Manson, of course, guess what side of the political spectrum white people were like, well, that's what did it. It was this music. Mm-hmm. And he was being interviewed. Maybe this was in Bowling for Columbine, actually. He was being interviewed, and he said, someone asked him, what would you say to those kids if you could talk to them, like right now? The ones who did the shooting. He said, I wouldn't say anything. I'd ask them questions. Mm-hmm. Or I wouldn't say anything. I would listen.
Because that's what they need, they need.
Yeah.
I think this does bring a light to, we can't condone what she was planning out.
No, not at all. Of course not.
No, of course not. But it does bring up something interesting. So I had read recently, and I should find the journalist who interviews shooters who, haven't committed suicide or didn't, get put down by the police or who are alive and in prison for a mass shooting. And I think she said her question to, every one of them was there anything that could have stopped you? And most of them are like, anything could have stopped me. It would have taken one moment to not go through with it. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that was kind of what Emma's character happened. I mean, yeah, she was derailed by another shooting, but it does kind of it proved the point that we're not dealing with, for the most part. I mean, we can't put a blanket over all shooters, but we're not dealing with monsters here. We're dealing with a human
confused
that needs
kids.
Yeah, that needs somebody needs that. Hey, you're a human. I'm talking to you. You're accepted. So
yeah.
It is that.
Yeah, I mean, that's deterrence. Like, society has deterrence in place for a lot of things. Buying a gun is not there in this country, and that's why it's such a uniquely American problem. Mm-hmm. It's not a deterrent. It's so easy to do. Why not? Why wouldn't I do that? If I'm angry enough, and I was bullied in high school for a couple of years. There was this weird just 2-year portion where I fell out of favor with some friends of mine, and I was sort of on my own for a while. And I'll be honest, it wasn't until, this is a weird thing to admit, but it wasn't until I was able to, deliver some violence onto somebody that it stopped. That was how it worked. It was like, oh, don't fuck around anymore. And that was how it worked. I'm not proud of it. It's not something that like I would say is it's not the only answer. It's probably not the answer to it. It just happened. And that shaped the way that for a long time I dealt with anyone who stepped out of line with me. I would just, I was large. I'm a big enough guy that I can physically, tell someone who's talking too much to shut the fuck up and back it up if I need to. And I did that for a long time. It took a while to get out of that because it was easy.
Mm-hmm. And people respond to it.
And people responded to it immediately.
Unfortunately.
So, when I watched this movie, I understood what could push somebody to that point. Because it's a failure of things around her.
Right. Yeah.
Like they're responsible for their actions. There's a level of responsibility. But,
and her parents, responsibility of the gun being out. Maybe she's not being interacted with her parents or family enough.
Are her parents shown alone as a child at all?
No.
I think that's very, very, very much on purpose.
Has a long leash of, there's no supervision, it seems, going on.
Her father works like all day. I think he was what? He was a cop? He was a cop? Or he was in the military, something like that?
Yeah.
So he's not home at all. So she seemed very much on her own for the majority of every scene. It's not even like voices in the background.
Yeah.
So I think that's, again, like the isolation and the not having others to help you out of this mental fog. It can and it does, when you have access to those types of implements of violence, it'll cascade. And even more so when you grow up where that is common. It's not like, she was doing something that, no one's ever done this before. She was planning something that she had already read and seen dozens of people do every year.
And we know that when you see violence or you see suicide, I think it like increases the people who see it to maybe commit these sorts of things. Like we know that exposure to a certain amount of it can, at least for suicide, can contribute to others.
But how do you think the film? How do you think then the characters in the film though? Everyone else comes off as fucking insane. That's the thing is like at the end of the movie, I'm like, Alana Haim's character is the worst person on earth. Is one of the worst people on earth.
Mm-hmm. She's pretty terrible. Yeah,
she could have killed. If it wasn't for dumb luck, which is exactly what stopped the Emma character from doing what she did, if it wasn't for dumb luck of that kid being found,
they found him. Mm-hmm.
She would have led to his death because she couldn't just own up to the parents and felt comfortable enough to speak to any other parents about what she had done. Mm-hmm. It's very much in line. But the righteousness that she has, it was, I don't know I wonder, did the movie want me to fucking hate that character? Because my goodness, did I hate that character.
Yeah, I do think they wanted you to hate her. I do think that Alana Haim was definitely playing that, the bitch. I mean, she was just in all of her, even mannerisms, I think it was a purposeful don't like her. But I like to say with this movie is all of them actually did awful things. Like the worst thing, Zendaya Emma is the only one who it's the worst thing I never did. Right?
Yeah, like her actions actually didn't impact anyone ultimately.
And maybe benefited the people around her, because she then turns to activism. Like, not again, it could be that the guilt she feels over it, or that she still has these impulses and this is her covering it up. But at the same time, it doesn't matter because, and that's also, I think, a little bit about the movie is like when we find out a piece of information about somebody, even if it's just their thought, how does it impact the rest of us, or how do we react to it? Right.
Yeah.
And it's like, she never did this action, but because of what the action is and what it could have done, it makes everybody think that she's way worse. And all these people are terrible. They really are. I don't like most of the characters. I don't like their interactions. I don't like their reactions. I even find when Charlie has an interaction with his coworker, let me look up the name of this character.
Yeah, Haley Gates plays her.
Is it Misha? But yeah,
Misha.
So she has kind of a weird reaction as well, but it's a little bit more normal, but then it gets weird.
Do you think it's normal to be like, hey, I'm telling you this scenario where someone when they were 14 had these thoughts and they almost did this, and call the cops. What the fuck are we talking about? Call the cops.
Okay, this was my one huge sticking point. Yes.
Yeah, are you insane? What do you mean call the cops?
Okay, if one person says it, I go, okay, a little strange. What do you mean call the cops if something she never did, there's no evidence of, was 15 years ago? What are we talking about here? When two people say it, I'm kind of like, what so this, I don't know. I don't know if this is because this is the filmmaker and he's Norwegian, Christopher Borgli.
Yeah.
But I don't know if maybe can you in Norway can you post call the police about things? I don't. I did find it. Or maybe they do take tips about mentally unstable people who might be aggressive. Seriously,
that I get, but you're referring
no, she's
to
not
something
anymore.
Or is she? No, but I don't think so.
We don't know.
No.
I don't know. But yeah,
I don't know. The film has more.
I found that odd that two people had that reaction.
The film has I think more than enough chances to show she's still on the edge. And yelling at somebody who almost hit you in a crosswalk because they're going through a red light, to me is not well, this person is clearly going to murder some. I don't, right. That's, I know, no. but I like the way it's used because we are seeing it from Charlie's head, which Charlie's mind is cracked. And it's because
anxiety ridden all the time, it seems, though. We know from the first introduction of when they meet, he's a little he's an anxiety ridden person and a little bit all over the place. So
and I like though how Charlie he's a victim of his own advice because he doesn't take his own advice. Because he says to Emma, hey, have you ever talked to anybody about this? You've been holding this in for this long. You've never discussed it with anybody, clearly for some good reasons because of the reaction that you get. But you talk to a psychiatrist or something, because you can't. This trauma will eat you alive. And then he has no one that he feels like he can talk to about it. Because on the one occasion when he does, which is with Haley, it's she sounds like a psychopath. And he doesn't believe that. He really doesn't believe that.
And then he reacts like a psychopath.
Yeah, but that's the thing is because he's just looking for someone else to be no, she's not fucking insane. But he runs into the three wrong people to ask about it, And when you're in a situation like that, and you're looking for support of I shouldn't this isn't a big deal, as big a deal as I want it to be, right? It takes a lot of emotional energy to ask one person to be am I fucking crazy or is this maybe not that big of a deal because everyone else seems to be acting like that. And when that person is no, that other person is nuts, you should call the cops. You don't want to even have that conversation again. And he doesn't.
He does.
in the right situation, Charlie, Emma, and like her father or someone, and like a psychiatrist should have all sat down and been like, hey, this is what happened.
Yeah.
You all should know about this, and let's see what we can, do. I just feel, again, like conversating, I feel would have been the way to
the solution
approach
to
it. Yeah, the solution.
yeah, of like the craziness that ensues, or the drama that ensues. I mean, so what did you take as? I mean, I think we get shots with the editing of what Charlie is imagining Emma to have done, be doing. I think the montage where he can't not see the young her being with the young her, the would-be shooter is kind of, it is dark but hilarious. I mean, that montage that cracked me up. And then you kind of are like, he's looking through the book of when he gets the I guess like the high fashion of the women with the guns and the rifles, and he
because
seems
it's
to be like,
fetishized. I mean,
he's like,
there's a
maybe
large
I'm...
portion of the country where that's fetishized.
Yeah, but so we're getting all of these quick kind of edits of what he could be imagining. There's one quick one where it's like, I think it is reality, where he talks to Mike about calling off the wedding. I think it might be afterwards or the day afterwards.
No, that's in his head. No,
that is in his head.
That's in his head.
Okay.
Like Mike saying like, get out of the fucking country, and like I'll have her.
I mean,
that's in Charlie's head. I think that actually, now thinking back on it, if he would have actually spoken to Mike, I think
it wouldn't have been that bad.
Nope. Mike would have been like, no, let's sit down. This is upsetting. And and even I was like, hey, that's really fucked. But like, I thought about it, and, it was, but I really think Mike would have been the one to bring him down, but he doesn't feel like he can talk to him because
of Rachel's,
and also just because like the whole situation is probably just so uncomfortable, and you don't want to embarrass yourself to a friend when you're looking for support. And in his mind right then, he wasn't going to get it, so he backs away from it. So it's another example of like, if someone felt comfortable reaching out for support and thinking that they would receive it, it would save them a shitload of trauma.
Right.
And all, three of our two main characters suffer from that, where they don't feel comfortable enough to entrust what they're thinking to somebody else and be open, and that's what leads to it. And then the one person that it doesn't go well. And and that really breaks him for Charlie. And then from what I saw, we are getting some perspectives that are from Emma's, what she wants to happen or what she needs from him, which I think were really great. Like when he comes back into the apartment after the awful night of the reveal, and she clearly needs him to love her, to accept her, to be okay with her past, or again, it's like I feel for the girl because she's being bullied and a 14-year-old and no connection. So, but we went all over all that. But so and you get these moments of Emma, and when she wants, what she wants is just like love, basically, from Charlie. When we get her instances of what she imagines that she wants to happen. So I found that was, I think the editing, the use of the editing and of what the people are imagining in their heads, versus, and it would be so simple of, right, like just communicating it. Like, but again, it's as simple as
that's
as
being human,
as that.
right? That's our hardest thing that we have, and all we have above like all other animals is our ability to communicate, but we still can't communicate very well. And so I know, I would like to watch it again to kind of like, there's so many quick edits, there's so many, this imagining of what could happen, like even Pattinson imagining that she slaughtered the entire wedding guests and the party, and that's
the theater was about half full when it was a smaller theater, but it was about half full. That that shot noise with that DJ setting up his equipment made like half the theater gasp. They thought like it
happened.
happening. Yeah, they were like, "Oh my god!"
Future, yeah,
yeah. They 100% like, you heard that from people, which is another good example, again, of the film really playing. Maybe that's the thing. Maybe it plays all the angles too much. Maybe Zendaya, like, hey, we saw you smoke heroin in the street. Therefore, you cannot be part of our wedding. You should be. What the fuck is wrong with you? It's like,
but see that,
but that's
right?
Current,
but that was
like,
also a reaction to, because her initial reaction to it was, whatever. She's a DJ. Like, if she smokes, like, they both were kind of. I thought she was like in the beginning, that conversation that they're having with each other about it, that they saw her. I thought she was more kind of mellow about it, where she was like,
no, she
I'm
was
not going to
questioning
fire
if it was
her.
really her. No, I thought she was the one who wanted to then let go, and he was like, I don't think it's really.
I think he was the one that wanted something to happen,
and
because his friends were pushing.
I don't remember the opening. I don't remember.
Yeah,
that
I think that's what happened. Is that he caught it, he saw it. Charlie saw it on the street, and was like, "Look, I think that's our DJ." But then, like, when they're discussing it at the table, it seemed that Rachel and Mike were both encouraging them to fire her. And the DJ, and Emma and Charlie are like, I don't really know if we need to fire her. And I thought Emma was like, I'm not gonna do that,
so
because
then
we thought
is it?
I thought it was
like
like a reversal, because she felt that she needed to do something in reaction to their reaction, right? Like the friends, and now that they knew this about her, I thought it was, and we'll have to watch it again at some point, I guess, but I thought it was her kind of doing that. Okay, you want me to make sure that people don't do bad things, and I'm a good person, and because the friends were the ones kind of pushing to fire the DJ, and so
she looked at it as, if I have to get fucking persecuted for this shit,
right?
And I didn't actually do anything,
so she takes it out on this DJ.
Yeah, she takes it out on her.
Yeah. The DJ, and kind of a reversal of like, no, I'm gonna, say bad. This was bad, or doing drugs bad. It was kind of, really crazy reaction to fire your DJ on the day of for smoking heroin at some point. I don't know.
Pro tip though, if you're having an argument with someone who's hired you, and you're still expecting them, after you say you're a cunt, when they say you're fired, don't act surprised.
No.
Like up until that moment, because she only acts, because I think she only says you're fired after the DJ calls Zendaya. She's like, you're being a real cunt. And then she gets fired, and she's like, "You're firing me?" I'm like, "Well, if you,
what did you think then?
What did you think that particular statement would have led to? Like, do you think this other woman would have been like,
you're right?
Yeah, like, oh, never mind, you're right, I am. You know what? DJ on. I can't wait till you play your song. So yeah, I thought that was wild, and I want to look deeper, and I gotta think more about their dance instructor.
She was a little rough too.
Well,
but
again,
intense.
like, but why? But why? So why is she like that? Would they encounter somebody who, if you don't do the exact plans, the exact steps that have been given to you as the acceptable things, you are wasting my fucking time, and you are, what are you doing? And she goes from like a dance instructor to as if she was the dance director for a major Broadway show, and people are fucking up just because these two people are having fun dancing to their own song, practicing that dance for their
wedding. Yeah.
And again, like, it shows
really
like how
reaction.
close people are to going over the edge of normal to insane.
Right.
And that's all it took for her to go over that. And there was two things that Charlie finally, when he not confronts, but when he speaks to Rachel and Mike later, like in Rachel's office, and he's the first person to bring up, you almost killed the boy. Like you only didn't,
Yeah.
because now they let
You got
her
your
off.
ass
He
saved
lets her
for
off
that,
the hook
yeah.
way too easily on that. And Mike doesn't say anything. And I know it's because like Charlie is supposed to be a weaker character. So I get why he didn't press that. But as a watcher, I found that a little frustrating, where I was like, of all the people in that room, this person should not be having be getting off so easily on what they did. I thought that was
who
crazy.
forces the conversation. And that is one thing that I had of just I was like, it's not a cool thing to do if you're forcing everybody to say the worst thing they've ever done. It should be, a little bit like, yes, okay, what Emma reveals is shocking, right? But
And she probably just should have said something else.
Yeah, she should have said something else. But she was, the booze were heavy and the lips were loose, and so. But it's like, no, that should be a bubble of safety here. She's not revealing that she murdered someone yesterday. She's not revealing, it's not an immediate. Rachel's reaction is like there needs to be an immediate, something needs to be done about what she did, what Emma did as a child. And it's like, I don't know, if you're already forcing everybody to reveal these things, I do think you need to create a little bit of a safe space here. And like,
well, you also remember, she's not her friend. She's Rachel's friends with Pattinson.
Yeah, it's the best man's wife.
They make a point of it that like those two weren't friends before, and I don't know, maybe there's some envy. Because I don't really get a lot of great connection between Rachel and Mike. I don't know like how their situation is. We don't go very deep into it, but maybe there's a certain thing of jealousy towards Emma, because she doesn't seem friendly to her ever.
No,
and she even she didn't really, her reaction that she later does on her speech. Being invited as a maid of honor, her interior reaction was, you don't have any real friends. Yeah. And that's why you're asking me.
And she also apparently she hates Charlie a little bit too. It seems that it's kind of revealed, because she's like, you deserve each other. I guess she could say that she's accepting, because Charlie's accepting her going through with the marriage or whatever, is Rachel's like, okay, well now you're a trash person too.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think that Rachel has feelings for Charlie, and they were never reciprocated or, or anything like that. And that's led to a lot of animosity in her. At least that's how the movie plays it off. It plays it off like she has just daggers for these two folks. I don't know if she overplayed it, if Haim overplayed it, but I don't think so, because at a certain point, the director would have noticed, like how hard she was going into that side. But yeah, she was one of the more puzzling aspects to understand in the film, was like, what's her deal? Like, what is she?
The crazy part is though, and maybe I'm giving us as people too much credit, but when I walked out and I was like, but man, these were like kind of wild reactions.
Overly wild reactions.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of also the point. But then I thought about it and I go, you know what though? People might react this way. Like people, if you look at even the discourse, the internet, heightens every freaking reaction. And so like, if you look at, the talk around, the discussion around this of like whether she should have even been a would-be school shooter and, all that discussion, it's like, okay, maybe this would be people's reactions. Like maybe they're,
remember, for every good that it has done, there, if anyone is accused of anything nowadays, they're guilty first, unless you're, a politician. But for everyone else, as soon as someone says an accusation, they're guilty. You're guilty until proven innocent. And even then, I don't really think it matters. Like, because what happens if something is accused and it goes to court and it gets dropped or whatever, the argument is, oh, well, it was years ago and there wasn't, how would you have evidence for something that was, supposedly happened years ago? This person probably did do that. So that doesn't even matter either. So no, I
perception
do see,
comes in.
Yeah. I mean, like if let's say like the argument was there's a video that pops up of Zendaya as a 13-year-old girl. And she says, I would kill those people if I had the chance. She would be done. Her career would be over. It wouldn't matter that she was 13. It wouldn't matter at all. People would crucify her over something like that. And so, no, I think the film is properly portraying the way that the larger public would react to anything like that. But then Pattinson's character, out of all of his, madness and how far he goes down into a hole of not being able to deal with this, he says the most insightful thing in the whole movie. One of the most insightful things in the whole movie, because you're angry at her for something that she confessed, to thinking about doing and to planning. But if you look out on the street, there are thousands of people who have had thoughts like that every day and they don't do it.
Yeah.
And you don't think about
You
that.
don't know.
You just don't know. And it's just your knowledge of knowing that has turned you into this. And it may be like out of character, maybe a little bit at that point, because, he's so thinking, but he's thinking of it 100 different ways.
He's trying to rationalize
he's trying to come to terms with it. And that to me was, it's exactly
it was a
what
summation. Yeah, I was gonna say that's kind of like a little bit of a summation of like what the director, I think, is trying to get the point across here. That what happens in your head doesn't happen in reality, but we all treat our perception of what we hear and what we think as reality. And I guess to wrap it all up, unless you have anything.
No. I was. We talked about so much about it in such a short time already. Mind of mush, burying trauma. Alana's a horrible person. She's the most sane one. I'm okay. I like the ending. I actually genuinely think like the way that everyone's going to react to what happened at the wedding, they're going to have each other, and they don't need anyone else, and they'll be fine. Mm-hmm. It's how I view the ending. Like, yep. They're going to be fine just with the two of them.
It also just occurs to you that what happens in a relationship is its own little interior world. And everybody's outside opinion of it really doesn't matter. Like it's between the two people. It really is. It's between the two people. And there's that aspect of it. But I also liked the full circle where it starts off of where he's, coming on to her at the coffee shop and she doesn't hear him. And so then she's like, let's start over. And that's kind of their thing, a little bit. She tried it, I think, in the middle of the movie to be like, I see that this is really, you're spiraling over this. I'm still me. Let's start over. And that's kind of their go-to to help.
Which mirrors Before Midnight, Linkletter's Before Midnight.
That's one of my favorite scenes where
Hawk tries that
down.
Like 2/3 of the way through the film. Like, hey, how are you? Or actually, no, he says in the same scene, he tries it, he gets stopped, but then later in that scene, as they're sitting at night, she starts to play along with it. So yeah. I thought it was great. I enjoyed watching it a lot. Yeah, I'm not going to really care about like what other people think towards it, because I know that people are going to be very locked into, oh, well, you're making a joke of this. I don't think it's doing that at all. I think that it's helping. I think that laughing at really awful things while trying to discuss them helps trying to discuss them.
For sure.
So, that was Mel Brooks's entire thing. Like, I'm going to make the worst person in the world look like a fucking clown. and that helps me deal with those awful people. So I think it's, you know, I don't think it's to that extent that he's doing this in this film, but it's like, we want to be able to talk about this, but I'm going to break it up a little bit and give you some like darkly comedy. Her computer crashing was fucking hilarious.
That was, and the kid, she's the twice try to like reboot, re-get into character, redo the thing, then she can't do it. There was a lot of funny moments, and the darkly funny moments. But I also think I do think it kind of opens up the conversation a little bit of like, it's a small thing, but Pattinson mentions his bullying. Charlie mentions his bullying, that he's not sure if it really caused somebody to move or not. But there's a moment that Emma is trying to explain, I think, how awful the bullying was, like her daily harassment. And he kind of doesn't get it. It does seem like his reaction seems almost like that's what caused it. Like, this is what caused. I from my memory,
I don't remember. I don't.
He doesn't have. He's like, he doesn't kind of. He goes, why? How is that bad? You know, he didn't like see it as that bad. It seemed like his reaction.
Which,
was
if
like,
somebody didn't get bullied,
that's
I
what
understand.
I'm
like
saying.
That thing,
like,
you know,
like
he doesn't.
I think that
he understands it, but he doesn't understand how impactful it can be.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that was a point that I kind of picked up on, and I liked, was like, and I think it does open up the conversation of, bullying is a massive problem that we need to acknowledge and open up the discussion about. Like, I'm not saying, again, if the Emma character went through and she was a mass shooter, awful, terrible. But I do think it does open up the conversation of like, well, what led this now seemingly emotionally stable person to?
I think the other, and again, it's, you know, Pattinson brings it up. His character brings it up. It's a uniquely American problem, though. It's not like bullying didn't exist except for the last, since Columbine. It doesn't only exist in the United States of America, but the United States of America is the only place where you constantly get school fucking shootings. So
what's going on? What's the difference?
The difference is obvious and stupid, and people will never, the people who on the other side will never, come up to that realization because they don't want to. But that's also, the biggest thing. Like, this isn't a uniquely American problem in bullying. Yeah. It isn't even like this generation. It's that's been a forever thing for kids.
That's true.
But it's harder nowadays with social media. It's easier. It's a lot easier to do it, and it's constant. There's no and then you get a break from it when you go home. Like, it doesn't fucking stop. It's endless.
Yeah.
And then you have the easy access to a violent end.
It's a cocktail. Yeah. It's a cocktail for awful things to happen. What a way to end the conversation. But I mean, there's no. I think the happiness, or the happy ending of the film is you've got a couple that seems to now finally understand each other, is okay being more vulnerable with each other.
Yeah. Like, if she can find it to move on from the experience that happens that we witnessed at the wedding.
The cheating prior to the wedding with the coworker, or the awful speeches, and even his falling apart of that. Yeah, if she can.
How the speech deteriorates into all the notes that Mike told him in the opening. He was like, "Don't bring that up. Don't cut that. Take that out." Like, everything that he was told in the beginning to get out. Again, Mike seems good.
Yeah,
Mike seems like a good source that Charlie needs in his life. I wonder going forward if he has it. I tell you, I wouldn't be surprised if Rachel and Mike were divorced within a month of the end of that film. I could see that happening.
That's funny.
Because I can see Mike being like, I'm going to support them, and her being like, you're a fucking asshole. But at the same time, if it's very quick editing, I'm almost positive that you see Rachel trying to physically accost the boyfriend who headbutts Robert Pattinson.
Yeah, then she starts defending.
I wonder if she had a mental flip that we
weird-
don't get to really experience, but where she was like,
It's like
no.
the tribalism. Like, no,
yeah,
these
it's
are my
like you
people.
can now.
I can.
But the thing is, the violence was against him.
Yeah.
And I think that if it was on her, if it was on Emma, she wouldn't give a shit. But again, it feeds into my thing of like, there's more in her mind towards Charlie that maybe she's even willing to admit. Because yeah, she flips immediately and is like, "I'll fucking kill you." You're like,
I remember,
something like that.
Which is yeah.
I brought, just to wrap. I know we got to wrap up, but like, I was telling Melissa about this movie, my wife, and she reminded me. She was like, "Oh, it's like that line that you really like in 12 Angry Men." That sequence where he baits one of the other jurors into saying, "I'll kill you." And Henry Fonda says, "You don't really mean you'll kill me though, do you?" Because that's sometimes just the thing people say.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. It's a great movie to watch and then sit down and talk about for like 2 fucking hours because it's got a lot to say and
there's so many. I mean, the school shooter, the mass shooter aspect takes over the conversation, but there's these other little deeper subplots of how well do you know your partner? How vulnerable are you willing to be with your partner? How do your friendships affect your partnership? So there is a whole subplot of the relationship there that I think also just a rewatch of, because the edits are so quick. They're so quick of the flashes of these things. Yeah.
Did you see this thing?
The ring. Or,
the ring. The poster
holding,
that
Yeah.
In the poster, it's her holding up her hand, as left to right
on his chest.
Yeah,
right?
showing the ring off. But when you see that image in the movie, she's pointing at him with a finger gun symbol.
So I didn't catch it on the fridge. The picture on the fridge.
It's on the fridge. Yeah.
Right. So I didn't catch that really. But so Ryan, my husband, brought it to my attention. He's like, I think it changes like from the poster to the photo. And then I questioned them. I was like, but I didn't notice that. Does it change at some point with his?
I don't think it changes. I just
perception.
Think that, I think it's that the poster is one thing, and then when you see that image in the film, it's a different image. Although I will argue, I think you could have put out that poster with the image of that, and no one would have batted an eyelash. Probably. And then when the movie came out, you would have been like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
It's an interesting choice. I remember when, what was the second film? It was the sequel, the unknown sequel to Unbreakable at the time when it came out. The M. Night Shyamalan's second film, Split.
Not Glass. Okay, yeah.
Split.
So I wanted to say Shatter.
There was a hidden in plain sight tell that was a sequel to Unbreakable. And it was, if you took the two theatrical posters and put them next to each other, the shattering glass met in the middle. You could put them next to each other, and the glass that was broken on the one half of the original Unbreakable poster, that expands line to line in the other poster for Split. And you didn't know it. You could have put it together if you would have thought of it, but you would have never thought of it. And I wonder what the decision was to change the poster. Is it to have this moment afterwards to be like, oh wow, look at that? Or was A24 really fucking terrified of promoting this movie for what it was?
I hate to be like, it's a marketing thing. It's a marketing thing. You've got two big names, Zendaya especially. You want the butts in the seats before the conversation. You need. I do think it might be a get them to the theater.
Do you think it's? What's your reaction then to if someone watches this and they're like deceived? they feel a little deceived.
Like they needed a trigger warning.
Or they were just straight up sold a bag of goods that wasn't the movie they were going to see.
It wasn't. But I don't think the trailers... Here's the thing, watching the trailers, I did seem like it was going to be some kind of psychological...
Something seems off.
Dark, yeah.
Where you're like, oh, this isn't just going to be funny. Like, there's going to be something that happens, at the very least, Robin Pattinson is going to discover that he's actually gay, and then break off the wedding at the end or something like that.
Yeah, because I think that we're getting, I mean, maybe if you don't have like a higher media literacy, you're just seeing an awkward couple. Because I guess you could take it as this is a really uncomfortable couple. Because like I think like the photo shoot is in the trailer where like, but then we learn after the trailer that it's really like they're doing this photo shoot after the night of the reveal, and he's having all these crazy thoughts about it. So it does that moment that was hilarious too. Where the photographer like basically gives up on it. She's like, you know what? It's gonna be good.
It's all right. We'll go a day
work with it. Yeah.
And you get the early the foreshadow that like he may sway very quickly to someone else in an act of desperation because he can't smile, but then he looks at the blonde who's working at the desk and just for a hot second he like has a genuine smile because he's just desperate to find like normalcy, like that normal relationship again somewhere.
But I don't know. Maybe people. I honestly didn't read a whole lot of the discourse.
I'm not going to
because it's like I don't know if it matters to me. I think maybe I guess you could, but this is where I'm going to sound so old. And it's like a cancel kind of comment for an older person to say. I don't really truly believe in trigger warnings. Like there are some movies that like. I'll mention one that I had like a panic attack afterwards, but like I don't know how you would give it a trigger warning. It was like After Sun. I had like a panic attack after watching After Sun with Paul Mescal.
Yeah, that movie was a little too close to comfort a couple of times. Yeah,
but I don't think I would put a trigger warning on it. But so I don't know. I think, but that's the thing. I don't know. Some people
that's a generational thing.
Yeah, again, that's why I say I sound
thing.
like an old person because I actually do.
I don't have that either. It's like if I watch something that's upsetting, it's okay.
Yeah,
I'm okay with watching something that actually upsets me. But I understand that people are not like that now.
Yeah. Funny. So like, I don't know. Maybe it would be beneficial for people when they went in to know this plot point. I don't think that the marketing's trying to fool you. I do think that, I mean, it is at the beginning of the movie. It does set up the inciting incident. I think it was okay though that it was. I'm happy that I went in not knowing.
The point is the characters don't know.
Yes.
So you're not supposed to know.
You're in their seat, so you need to have their reaction that they're going to have, or your own reaction to this information reveal. So I appreciate that it was, I didn't catch the spoiler before we went into this movie.
I didn't either. Yeah, no.
So it's funny. This is just go ahead.
No. I was just, the point that if you know it beforehand, you're going to make your own determinations and then bring that in there with you.
Yeah.
And it's been proven true because that's what that's what people are going to do. Oh, well, this is unforgivable and this person's a terrible person. That's the end of the movie.
And that's kind of not the point of storytelling, right? Like the brilliance of a film is you can show different perspectives. You can,
it also proves that the movie's right. If the reaction is that, it solidifies that the movie is 100% fucking accurate.
It nailed it.
You proved the thesis of the film before you even saw it.
Right.
Because you were told something and you said, oh, never mind, I don't need to know anything else because that's crazy. This person's insane. How could you ever back them up?
Mm-hmm.
Ta-da! That's the movie.
Done. Funny. This is just, I guess, a side note before we'll wrap this up like half hour ago. But the funny side note of Pattinson being in another film that people have like strong reactions to to a reveal with yes.
Okay, but that one,
crap, remember me.
that is
was
like
and sorry, I guess spoiler for people. I feel I'm sorry, but not really. I don't feel bad about the spoiler because I don't think it's a great movie. I don't think it needs to be watched. But
that's also it doesn't. It's a totally different thing because they
throw it in.
They throw it in at the end. It's a left field thing, and it is one of the fucking craziest decisions I've ever seen in a movie.
And especially in that moment in time. Okay, so I'll lay out what happened when I watched this movie. So I watched this movie after it came out on DVD. I guess the normal amount when it was like 6 months after or 3 months after, where you could get on like Redbox or was it back in college. We watched it with all of the floor, like my floor and my dorms. And so like there was like 10 of us.
Did you not know?
No, none of us knew except for
goodness.
one person. One person had seen it before. Was like, let's watch this movie.
Oh, that person's great.
Did not tell anything. The moment happens where the building gets hit by the plane, the 9/11.
Well, they don't show it. They don't show it.
Yeah. But it's implied that is it he dies in 9/11 or is it the romantic part?
No, because he's way up in the building. Like he's not getting out of there.
Yeah. And so we finished the film. And this, I guess, is kind of like proving the point of like this, like how triggering things can be. And I don't blame her because it was like 9/11, I guess, was like 10 years before that. But I would still argue like for New Yorkers, it's still really ever present. It's just that's the way it is. And one of our floor mates lost it, like angry, like raging that they would throw this in, that it's not a drama point, that, and it's totally understandable. Like,
because it has nothing to do with the rest of the movie.
Yeah. It's
nothing.
A heavy shit that you're not, and I would argue that we still haven't really reconciled as a country with what happened in 9/11. We still have no way to properly talk about it. So yeah, but that was my experience with it. And I just remember being like silently being like, I've got nothing to add to this conversation.
Yeah, because
it was just a hardcore argument too between
for anyone who hasn't seen
who's seen the film already and the floor mate who was like livid that this happened.
Just to if you haven't seen the film and you're listening, it's a movie about like, a young man who won't like just take the job working for his father, and he's trying to make his own way and this and that. There's a lot of stuff happens. Ultimately, he gets a job and he's at the office of the job. And then the camera, as he's staring out the window, the camera backs up, and I want to say he's in Tower 2 of the World Trade. And if I remember correctly, you hear a plane and then it goes black, and that's the end of the film. So the idea is like his first day on this new job is on September 11th, 2001, which I think is slightly hinted at when you hear dates earlier in the film or something like that. But it has no other tie.
Why end the film like that?
It's just this crazy fucking thing to throw in at the end. Yeah. And then that's how it is. It's like, that's how it ends. It's just a cuts to black, and that's the end of the film. Out of nowhere, it's nothing to be discussed. It has no like take on this nothing. It's just
how does that add to the story?
It's just a crazy ending.
But so I thought that was slightly funny that Pattinson is yet in another.
I remember when that came out and that happened, and that news got to me before I saw the movie, and I just remember people being like, "You will not fuck. You could give me 1,000 guesses, and you are not going to get what happens at the end of this movie."
Yeah, and there's the difference, right? Like, there's a difference between this one. I would say, like, I don't think the marketing is leading you to believe that this is a rom-com, you know? And whereas, like, Remember Me is sold, and for the most part, until the very end, is a romance movie. It is a romantic movie. Like, so that's where, like, I'd say that there's just some, but anyway.
Very, very weird experience that thing was when that came out. And at the time that it came out, because it was still, like, you know, sort of fresh in everyone's mind.
Yeah, I think that was what was so triggering. But that was like probably the first, like, should there be a trigger warning debate that I heard, you know, like when we were starting to, like, because my roommate and my floor mate were like going at it, a debate for like an hour, whether there should have been a trigger or there should have been something that alerted you to this. But anyway, yeah, I thinking back, I would like to rewatch the drama. I think coming out of it, I was like, do I want to rewatch it? But I think that was maybe just my, like, of infuriation with the people, the other characters in the film, you know?
Yeah, the Alana's character made me want to just fucking...
Yeah, I just want to shake
strangle
people.
Yeah, I just wanted to strangle everyone and be like, how are
of.
you not giving her her due shit for what she admitted to, like, after all of this? But
well,
check it out.
Definitely. I mean, I hope you checked it out already before you listen to this conversation, but, you know, whichever way you consume it is fine. All right, cool. Well, thanks for coming on to talk about that, Pete, and hopefully we have some new movies coming up to discuss. I don't know the schedule of the movie releases, but we try to. I know Pete and I are always trying to catch them in theaters. Trying to get to them first because theaters. Yeah, especially like a Project Hail Mary. Go see that in theaters. You're gonna want to experience on a big screen. I even regret it not seeing it on a larger screen. I was in like a smaller theater for our local film society. Has a nice little membership thing, and they have a good theater, great projector, everything. But it was just a little bit of smaller theater. So I would even recommend, like, if you can go see it in a larger format. I think
I would also even for me, like, the drama is a great movie to see up on the big screen too, because of some of the visuals that, you know, are in, you know, as you're jumping around, brings you into that space of Pattinson's, like, dwindling sanity as he's trying to deal with it. So I think
encourage just being able to turn off. I think that's, I don't know why I'm advocating suddenly for movie going or seeing in theater things, but I think it does. It does help, but it also it's a really nice relief to shut off the phone, block out the noise, no dogs, no distractions, just, you know.
And if you don't own dogs, you probably shouldn't have dogs regularly also. You shouldn't just have dogs around you. It's probably a good idea.
Right, or you know, I don't even know. Whoever's noisy in your life is not interrupting you while you're trying to absorb a film, especially the drama, where, like, there's such quick edits that you can miss things so easily. And I don't think that the drama is something that really should be paused. I think you kind of need to, like, ride that one through.
Yeah, sit with it.
Yeah. All right, cool. Well, thank you. This was so much fun.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye. Hey guys, Ashley here. Thanks for listening to Film Curious. If you enjoyed this episode, there's plenty more to come. I'll be reviewing new theatrical releases and new to streaming as much as possible, so make sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. As a follow-up to this episode, I think I'm going to do a rewatch of Dream Scenario, the director's previous film, because I always find the connections between the topics they choose and how they grapple with them adds value to understanding their breadth of work. Thanks again. See you real soon.